giving hope, giving light, bringing peace to our world. And this is the real movement.
Wow, what a joy and a privilege to be with you again at this time. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, viewers, for being part of our program once again. Today, we're going to be looking into a very, should I say, interesting or sensitive topic, an area that many have shied to talk about, but we must talk about it so we can get answers, so we can get solutions, especially for young people. The topic we're looking at today is overcoming addictions in teens. We're going to be looking at sexual addictions, masturbation, pornography, just all manner of vices. We want to be able to help somebody out there. We want to help parents. We want to help teenagers, young adults, or even adults, grown adults that might be, involved in this. And I believe that, at this time, because I have in the studio with me, I have right here with me, someone that is more like an expert. God has given him the grace, to function effectively in this area. He's helped a lot of young people, he's helped families, and it's just such a joy to have with me in the studio, Praise Fowowe.
It's nice being with you.
Praise, thank you for being here. Before we go on, I'd like to, take a few testimonies as we do these days. We found out that we must take testimonies because we get a lot of mail, we get a lot of feedback, and we think it would not be fair to communicate, with viewers how glad we are at their responses. After that, then I will introduce you properly, and then we will go. Now, this one says, Dear Pastor Nika, you have been such a blessing. I've been watching some of the episodes online, and this is Ijeoma. I thank God, I give God the glory for that. Another person says, Shalom, I've been watching your programs through KICC TV. I've been blessed and comforted to know that God answers prayers. And this is from Charity. The last one I'll take at this time says, Greetings, I'm sending this mail from South Africa as I just listened to something very profound by you and your guest. I am encouraged a lot. May the Lord richly bless you. Mrs. Malango. Thank you so much. We are so encouraged. I am so encouraged, and our team is so encouraged to keep going on and on, bringing you good content, bringing you life-changing, experiences through our work here. We give God all the glory. Now, we're looking at addiction in teens. I have no other person in the house than a very treasured person, Praise Fowowe. Praise is an international family life coach and advisor with over 16 years experience in handling family life issues across the continent of Africa. He has authored some books, as well as comprehensive sexuality kit on child sexual abuse prevention. His family systems engineering program has redefined people's perception about the family. And that's just to say a little. We could go on and on and on. He's happily married to Tosi and blessed with 2 children. So, Praise, thank you so much. This is not your first time with me on this show, but we want to take a few questions again and tap into that wealth of wisdom that God has given you in this area. The first question says, how can you tell when use becomes addictive? When something becomes an addiction?
Okay, addiction is is an uncontrollable compulsive appetite for a particular thing that keeps reoccurring. It means that you've tried to stop, and it's unstoppable. So you see a lot of people cry. A lot of people have even told themselves, if I do this, let God kill me, and they find themselves going back to it. So it's, first of all, it has to be uncontrollable, then it's compulsive. So when you find yourself in that situation, in that position where something becomes very tough for you to stop, or you're dealing with something and you've told yourself, basically when it has control over you, that's when it becomes addictive. Yes.
When it has control. So that's it. So it's so important to find a way to help people to break free.
Absolutely.
Because obviously it's something that is beyond any one of us. Wow. I hope at this time that if you know anyone who is going through addiction, if you're going through an addiction at this time as you're watching, maybe you want to call somebody quickly on the phone. Maybe you want to let them tune in at this time, or give them the link, to this program online, and so that they can, be blessed by it and get answers. Thank you so much, Praise. Can a person be too young to become addicted to alcohol, drugs, sex, pornography, etc.? Can someone be too young? Because someone might say, a 5-year-old cannot be addicted to anything. Maybe they're just addicted to sweets or whatever.
Well, unfortunately, that's the way we live. A lot of parents are in denial because it's a blind spot. So when I see people say to me, for example, that, hey, a 6-year-old cannot be addicted to pornography, can't be addicted to masturbation, can't be addicted to sex, or can't be addicted to drugs. I just laugh, because those are typical cases that we deal with. Wow. No one is too young to be addicted, because addiction, unknown to many people, is a behavioral problem. Okay, it was something you behaved yourself into. Two motivations drive human beings: pleasure and pain. The quest to gain pleasure and the quest to run away from pain. So whatever you taste or you engage in that is pleasurable to you, your brain begins to look for the source of the pleasure. And the moment your brain can read the source of the pleasure to a particular thing that you did, it longs for a repeat performance. So when you do it again, a neural line is formed from the source of the pleasure to your brain. So the more you do it, it longs for a repeat performance. You do it again, you do it again, you do it again. Then a time comes, you want to stop and you can't stop, because too many neural lines have been formed, and it becomes very difficult to stop. So that's, it is as simple as a child that sucks, for example, sucks his thumb. You realize that initially parents are trying to stop the child, but you have the child grows to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sometimes, and even 13, and he finds it difficult to stop. So you beat the child, you do all kinds of things, you say stop, because the child has, a neural line has been formed, is seeing that as pleasure, so it's very difficult to break. So anybody at all, anyone at all can be addicted to anything.
Wow. That means we should not assume.
No.
Or be in denial. Wow. Anyone can be addicted to anything. But what makes pornography pleasurable to a child, an underage, let's say below 10, 13, 15? What makes it pleasurable viewing these things, even though they've not done it? Of course, eventually it will lead to the doing. Absolutely. Because when you look at something long enough, you want to carry it out and take it, to see what it feels like. But what sparks of that initial interest, or that first neural line being formed? I've always wondered, why can't it just be, this is horrible? Because if I taste something bitter, I say, this is horrible, I won't feel like taking it again. But if I taste something sweet, I want to taste it again because it's sweet. What makes it sweet?
Okay, number one, it's not, looking at pornography, it's not horrible, right? To a child. As an adult, as someone who has enough buffer in your system, you can say it's horrible because you've trained yourself. A child is not trained to understand that. I usually like to say this way, that systems govern the people. Now, when we don't understand the systems that govern the people, we will major on the minor. So you have a system called the entertainment industry, and you have the media system. Now, when the way the system works is they work on your mind.
Yeah.
So when you look at pornography, so if you ask an average child, for most of them, especially teenagers, the first thing that happened, their first introduction is exploration, because teenage age is the age of exploration. They want to explore, find out a whole lot of things. As a matter of fact, some of them, it was as a result of pop-up. You know, a child is looking for a cartoon online, then this porn pops up.
Yeah.
Now, when the moment you watch it, and because the shooting of the pornography is a targeted shoot, right? It's meant to sell. It's an advertisement, you know. So there's a lot of colors. There's a lot of, you know, interesting stuff.
Deliberate.
You know, it's intentional. So a child looks at this and he says, "Wow, interesting." You know, it's different from. It's like another angle open up and say, "Let me see what's going to happen here." And he looks at it, and so he experiences the moaning, the shouting, everything. Then he looks at it and says, "Oh, okay." This is, and you know, for most homes, they never talk about sex. Now, whatever is not talked about, or whatever is hidden, or whatever is a taboo, is usually the area of interest that most teenagers, you know. So if you say, even it's a human problem.
Yes.
From the beginning, do not eat that tree. That was what man gravitated towards. So whatever you hide or keep away from people, that's what they gravitate towards. So this child sees this and wonders, wow, this is interesting. But because of what you have told the child or what the parents have said, to say, hey, you see this thing, you go to hell, you know, he knows immediately that something is wrong. But it was not told that. So for example, take for instance, parents who say, sex is bad, sex is bad, sex is bad, sex is bad, you know, and the child looks at this, and realize that this is not bad after all. I mean, it looks interesting. You know, so he wants to try it out. Then he realizes that the people doing it, they are not crying, they are not in pain, they are not burning. You know, contrary to what they look like healthy. They're enjoying themselves.
Doesn't know it's stage man that is acting.
The child doesn't know that.
For the purpose of sex.
And what people must understand is this. Your mind doesn't have the capacity to differentiate between what is real and what is simulated. It doesn't. That's why you can watch some movies that even though you knew it was a movie, you are crying. That's the way your mind works. So the subconscious looks at this and looks at it and wonders, wow, this is nice. Let me long for a repeat performance. Now, the mind is so powerful that once an image is stored, a child doesn't even need to see it the second time because it goes into his memory. You know, so it replaces itself, you know, because they're recording. You know, so he looks at it again and again and he wonders, well, let me try this again, you know, and he tries it and he realizes, then he begins to try to practice what he sees. And when a child touches, I mean, it's like when you touch yourself, you feel a sense of pleasure. So he touches himself and he feels, wow, this is pleasurable. He sees masturbation in there and he says, let me try it on myself. And it actually is pleasurable. So immediately he begins to sense that maybe my parents lied to me after all. They told me it's going to be painful. This is not painful. Take, for instance, every mother told the daughter, the moment a man touches you, you get pregnant. You know, and they found out that a guy touched them, and they didn't get pregnant. You know, so, and that's why it's very important in how we grow children, how we train them, and the information we give to them. Never lie to a child. There are ways to send this information, and you also need to build a proper system, or else, because we cannot tell children, don't do pornography, when we have not created a superior alternative that is in line, that is not pornographic, but something engaging, something they can see. You know, so because we tell them, hey, don't watch pornography, so what do I watch now? Don't listen to bad music. What music do I listen to now? You know, it has to be like that begets like, basically, but it has to be superior.
Wow, that is so loaded. Parents, I hope you're listening. From what I got from what you said is that parents should inform their children up front.
Absolutely.
Up front, even about pornography, before they get the first attack. The first thing that pops up, because we can't stop them from using the internet. They need it for their homework and so many other things, because they have to research. And so we have to inform them. Of course, we can talk about blocking out sites and all that, but sometimes you may not be able to efficiently block out total all the sites. And again, to tell them ahead of time what it's about, and that it's all a lie. It's all this that you have said, to share with them, to really, you know, tell them the mystery behind it, and the target, just what they're doing, so that when the child sees it, that could minimize as the child maybe is browsing, looking at it, fine, the child sees it, you expect the child to say, this is what my mom talked about, and close the site, but the child may not. The child may still want to look a bit, but the child should be conscious then that, This is what my mom told me
The child
about
should
this,
even
or
be
my
conscious
dad
enough
told
to
me
report.
about.
Yeah, to report to you.
Looking and saying, I know your lies behind all this.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I can see this is deliberate. I'm not going to fall for it.
True.
You know, and all that. And then talk about it that,
Yeah.
I saw this thing pop up. Which site is that? You close it. Of course I could. And then you find out, so to be informed, to be well informed before the first encounter.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Because with the first encounter, a child might be hooked.
It will be hooked, definitely.
What if some children don't get hooked in the first?
Well,
If they talk about it,
you know,
that can mean
it's like someone who says to you that, and I see that happen all the time. So a girl sees pornography and they say, it didn't affect me. It doesn't have an effect on me. And I say to people, unfortunately, what we've taught over time is that the devil doesn't have the fruit of the spirit. But I always say to people, there's one fruit of the spirit the devil has, is patience. But the only thing is, the patience is patient enough to set you up and mess you up. Because what it breaks down, it breaks your resistance ability, unconsciously. So you see the first time you say,
don't feel
it was like a
anything
guy who slept with a girl on the same bed the first time and told himself nothing happened. After all, they told me there is something happened. Nothing happened the first time. Second time, third time, one day something may happen. Right. So it's always important that we teach our children to talk about whatever they see. And we must also have the capacity to accept what they say to us, because that's another area. Because most parents, you want me to be honest, but you have not created an atmosphere where I can be honest. So the child comes to test the ground. He tests the ground and says to you, Mom, I met a friend who saw pornography. And you're like, hey, devil's child. Don't. Meanwhile, the child was trying to talk to you about herself, but she was testing the ground to see your capacity.
Don't work with that friend.
Yeah. So those are issues we need to create an enabling environment where our children can be honest with us. But some children can say the first time and they never get hooked, but they need to talk about it.
They need to talk about it. So I'm hearing you saying communication is very important.
Very important. Very important. It's everything.
It's everything.
Yes.
Everything must be talked about.
Yes.
And parents should, when they hear things like that, don't act so surprised. Don't act shocked. Even though you may be shocked inside, it's also a rule in counseling too that don't be shocked before your counseling. Even though you may be shocked that, wow, I've never heard this before. This is another level. Been counseling people, but then you hear something that you're not supposed to act shocked.
True.
So you don't act shocked and you are composed so that you can get more information from the child.
Absolutely.
And I think if the more information we get, at least we know where we know how to go and get help. We look for help. And then even to pray, whether this is fire on the mountain or fun. For me, I don't like to be deceived. I like to know the whole truth behind anything. So it's not good to damn the flow.
Yeah.
Say, hey, your friend, really? Where did he find it? What exactly did he say he saw? Okay. So did he show you too? So both of you are now. No, we didn't watch. Really? So get more. Okay, has he come to the house before? He hasn't come. Okay, bring him home next time now. That's not the time to drive the child away. First of all, because some of us say, no, don't work with that kind of child anymore. The child will still be friendly because the child will be thinking, what has he done now? So much wisdom, especially for parents. We're moving on. We're talking about overcoming addictions, especially in teens, in young people, all forms of addictions. We'll be talking about pornography. For now, we will go into other areas as we take the rest of the questions. Now, let's take this one. What are some of the reasons why teens may think being addicted to a negative thing is cool?
Well, very simple. I talked about systems the other time. Yeah. What people don't know is that systems are very intentional, right? Systems are not emotional. Systems are well thought out. So when you find out that a whole lot of people watch the same movie, you want to go in that direction and see the movie. Now, so when they see the movie, and parents need to understand that teenagers especially don't talk to adults. They talk to their best friends. So when they see this particular movie where there's a whole lot of porn going on, then it becomes a form of peer pressure. Sure. So you see, if you work with teenagers, you hear them say, hey, so you can do it. You're not real. You're not a real teenager if you don't do this, right? So you find out that a child who wants to live right is pressured into living wrong because it's now made to look like, hey, you are the sinner. Something is wrong with you. So the child, if the esteem has not been well built from home, would want to show his mates, that he can actually do it. And that's where it starts from. So an average teenager doesn't want to be left out of the flow, especially when people now begin to avoid you. You now live in isolation. They don't give you the gist anymore because you are not in the flow. I mean, it's very funny what happens out there. They create a kind of world wherein you actually feel something is wrong with you. Right. So you want to test the drug, you want to test the porn, you want to have sex, you want to do all those things, just to belong. And that's why a whole lot of teenagers fall into this thing. As a matter of fact, you can narrow it down to low self-esteem.
Low self-esteem.
Yeah.
They have not been taught from home. So parents should teach their children from home that they don't have to go with the flow.
Yes. Power of one, actually, that everyone is doing it doesn't make it right.
Doesn't make it right.
And that you are the only one doing it doesn't make it wrong.
And at the end of the day, there's suffering there at the end of the road. Hold yourself. Again, we need to let our children also know that they need to find themselves also in the right circles. We know we can't avoid because they go to schools. Even if your child goes to the most Christian school, there will still be children who, Christian by birth, or they go to church, their parents are Christians, but they live in a real world still. So you can't totally immunize your child from having friends that are not Christians or that are not living right. They will have general friends.
It's actually very easy.
We can teach them not to have best friends or closest friends.
It's actually easy
that are in the circle.
It's easier to fall into the wrong hand in a Christian school because there's a natural assumption that because the Christian school, everything is fine. So a child comes into the school, forgetting that the child may not have accepted Christ, gets into the school, and begins to influence a whole lot of people. So we can't take chances. That's what I'm saying.
We can't take chances. We must be on guard, even when it's a Christian school. So power of association, but again, this thing still keeps coming back to the home. To the home, to the home, to the home. Yes, the church is there, but I always say that children go to church, young people go to church, and even those of us adults, we go to church an average of twice a week. Okay, let's take the children and the teenagers. They go once a week, Sundays. Midweek, they hardly go because they have to do their homework and all of that. And then if they have any youth group, maybe once a month. Or all the youth, they're coming together. How many things can be addressed? But at home, they wake up every day in that home. So you're able to share with them. Call it family altar, call it anything. The important thing is you're sharing. You're talking. You're bringing things out from the Bible. You're bringing things out that you're saying this are our values. It's not even everything you will say, the Bible says, the Bible says. You just say that as per this family, there are times I've told my children, especially my youngest one, God would just give me creativity along the way. She asked me a question, can I have, one time she said, can she have an iPhone? A friend has an iPhone or has a phone, or she wanted a phone, and a friend had a phone. And then she was 11, and I said, what's your name, full name? She said it. What's her friend's full name? She said, I said, do you notice that the names don't match? The names don't match. So if you belong to this family and you love this family, and she's someone that loves the fact that she belongs to this family, maybe because she came late, much later after the first two. So growing up, she's just wanting to be, she loves everyone so much, even her older siblings. So it was so apparent to us that one day she actually said it, I think she was 4, so I'm so happy I'm part of this family. So, my son looked and said, what? Okay, so do you think you were adopted or what? It was more like, who says that? But she would actually verbalize it. It was as if you guys decided that I should join you. But there were so many pictures of summer vacation, so many pictures of she not being there. She said, this one, I was not there. Yes. So just dawning on her that she now came into exit. Maybe you had a second thought and decided I should now come. Then I'm now in the later picture. So I saw that family is so huge for her. So I use that, as a selling point. Fantastic. So unless you want to be part of that, do you want to go and join their family? No, I want. So that one, I didn't have to bring out Bible. That God said, we say here, these are the things. We don't do phones at 11, period. And that's it. So God will give us creativity to let them know that the family team is a winning team.
Yeah.
And there are certain things that we do or we do not do. It might be that your friend is doing it or that they're doing it in their family. Doesn't make it right
Yes.
for us.
Yes. Yes.
Doesn't make it right for us.
That's actually family systems.
They might do it and get away with it,
Yeah.
but we won't get away with it.
True.
I can assure you we won't get it. And it's good to tell your kids that it's very good it's cool to be smart. I used to tell them that a lot, to be smart. It's cool to be smart, to lead in your academics, to lead in sports, in the things that, because when they engage in that, apart from when reading the Word of God, when they engage in that, they should have less time for, I'm not saying they should have less time for that. So all the people that are doing all the pornography and all that, there's a way it affects their academics as well, because many of them, they should be more brilliant. No, their brilliance should show more. They should be getting 90s, they're getting 80s. And you're saying, don't get by with 80. I mean, 80 is good. You're saying, my first one, so he got 60 something, I got 80. But hey, you could have gotten 95, because I know what. But because, again, if you're spending time on pornography and all this, apart from the fact that it takes your time, then you have to now rush your homework, your research that should have been of more quality and depth. Because you have branched to viewing other things, it won't be a quality job. And teachers see through. I tell my children, teachers see through. Sometimes they write comments and say, very good, but we know you could have done better. Or seems like you did this in a rush. They say, caught you there. You're capable of more. So selling things like that to them, seeing how those things may look like a pleasure now, but at the end of the day, it's going to be pain. Because you're not going to get a prize for that. Yeah. The most you view, the most whatever, you're not going to get prize for things like that, yeah? So it's cool to be smart, because at the end of the day, those who think you're not cool because you've not watched certain movies, they will still envy you somehow.
True.
Because she gets all the marks, always comes second. There's a way they will still envy you, especially if you also, I tell them that, add leadership, not just, yes, getting all the marks, the academic, but add some leadership bent to it. Add, and again, if we parents do well too, other children can actually be envious of another child that the parent is actually there. The parent is actually there. Because all these things don't, yes, they have iPads and computers, they have it to themselves on supervisor. My mom allows me to wear it, she doesn't breathe down my neck to do what I like. And then your child says, my mom is actually there. Or we do stuff together.
Yeah.
So you can actually come down to their level. If it's a clean movie, let them go and watch. You two watch and laugh, be a child all over again. And then they start bonding again, going on, So again, we're bringing it back to the parental thing. Wow.